Toby Cruz will show the field. This time, Brian Brown, Casey Kane in run number 1, Darren Pittman and Kyle Larson in 2. Gio Selzy, Carson Macedo, Shane Stewart, Anthony Macri, Spencer Basin, and Shane Golubic.
In rows of 2 to the back straightaway.
Brian Brown setting the pace as they roll toward turns number 3 and 4. Slide to the edge of your seat, folks. We sold you the whole thing. You're only going to need the edge. Off of turn 4, green is out. Brian Brown brings them down into turn number 1 as they go 2 and 3 wide back to the pack. Bouncing off of one another back in the pack through 1 and 2, but we stay green. Back up front, Brian Brown's going to bring him around. Darren Pittman right behind him in second. Here comes Casey Kane for lap number 1.
Brown with the advantage on lap number 1. Pittman giving chase. Casey Kane looking to the inside of him for a moment. Not enough momentum to get anything done, though, as they work to the back straightaway. Kyle Larson running in 4th. Carson Macedo in 5th. Macri, Stewart, Selzy, Carney, and Basin, your top 10 as they come around to complete lap number 2.
Brian Brown, Darren Pittman. Casey Kane, a little smoke now off of Kyle Larson's car number 57. He runs in the 4th spot. Carson Macedo running 5th. Anthony Macri running 6th. Giovanni Selzy running in the 7th spot. Back up front, Brian Brown now beginning to pull away from Darren Pittman.
Quite a puff of smoke off of Kyle Larson a lap ago. Now clean and green as he works the high side of turns 1 and 2. Macedo trying to chase him. Macri now closing in on the 41 just a little bit as they work down the back straightaway. Selzy distant behind them in that 7th spot. Shane Stewart, John Carney, and now Scott Boguski. He and Marks slamming wheels at the start of this race, but Boguski back into the top 10.
Brian Brown working through the top side of turns 3 and 4. Unchallenged so far as they work down the front straightaway. They'll see lap traffic as they head toward turn number 2, and they're stacked up 2 and 3 wide back in the pack. But your leader works off to Brian Brown.
Carson Macedo had looked to the inside of Kyle Larson for a moment. Wasn't able to get the run, though. Larson able to pull away from him as Brown will start to see the back of the field. One driver with problems here to the front straightway. Turning it down, that is the 2. Kevin Enkel, the Huron, South Dakota driver, unfortunately done early in this one. Another driver off of the back straightaway with problems. Not catching the number before he cleared. That was the 53. Tony Bachhoven pointing that out as Brian Brown is about to have to make some decisions here.
Your top 5 cars now single file around the racetrack as they work by the lap car. Riley Goodnow down the back straightaway. Riley Goodnow now, he'll go to the bottom. Your leaders go to the outside. Casey Kane moving by him as well. Kyle Larson will be the next one to move by the outside of the slower car on the inside of the racetrack, but your leader continues to pull away from Darren Pittman. Brian Brown continuing to lead, and now he's caught lap traffic in turn 4.
Chris Martin, the next driver in line to go a lap down. Martin right now being shown in the 21st position. He'll close in on the 07 of Skylar GG. Had been battling with Sammy Swindell. As the advantage for Brian Brown over Darren Pittman, 1.375 seconds. That advantage could be closing, though, as they're battling side by side for a moment in front of Brown. Brown pitches it down to the bottom to clear the 07 into turns 1 and 2, and that takes almost a half a second off the advantage over Darren Pittman.
Skylar G pulls off the back straightaway, and we stay green as the field moves through 3 and 4. Your leaders are heavy into traffic now. Chris Martin, the next car in front of Brian Brown. Darren Pittman running in the 2nd spot. Battle for position now between Casey Kane and Carson Macedo. Casey Kane trying to fend off the challenge. Here comes Kyle Larson. Larson down to the inside as they work down the first straightaway. Battle for second into turn 1. Here comes Casey Kane.
Battle into turns 1 and 2 with the slide. Casey Kane takes the spot, but Kyle Larson has something to say. He'll turn it back under the 83, bolt to the back straightaway. Larson now trying to rebuild that momentum and see if he can run down Darren Pittman. Pittman off of the bottom. Larson up to the outside, closing now as they work into turns 1 and 2. Here they come for the race lead. The 21 of Brian Brown. He's got company as they work to the back straightaway. Here comes Darren Pittman in 39.
Brian Brown on the high side. Your race is for the lead as they work off of turn 4. Here comes Darren Pittman. He can't get it done. Brian Brown now goes to the bottom side of the racetrack as they work into 1 and 2. Kyle Larson to the outside. Your race for the lead in turn number 2. Down the back straightaway. Kyle Larson knocking on the door. Brown to the inside. Kyle Larson looks to the outside as they work into 3 and 4. Still racing for the lead. Side by side as they work in the front. You've got a new leader.
What a pass for the lead on the outside for Kyle Larson, getting by Brian Brown and Darren Pittman on the same lap. Now The 39 of Pittman under fire from Casey Kane and Carson Macedo as they work into turns 3 and 4. Kane working the outside on the Bear Archery number 39. He'll have the spot as they work around in the front straightaway. Kyle Larson, 0.8 of a second, and a lap car between himself and Brian Brown as they work on lap number 17 of 30 here in the front row challenge.
Kyle Larson beginning to pull away from Brian Brown as they work off of turn number 4. Darren Pittman and then he'll split back a spot. Casey Kane now 3 car lengths back as he gets 4 wheels over the cushion. Brian Brown able to pull away from Casey Kane. Darren Pittman right behind him. Carson Macedo, Anthony Macri, and Gio Celsi.
Kyle Larson closing in on Sammy Swindell to put him a lap down. With 18 completed, Larson sliding to 70 as they work through turns 1 and 2. Brown once again will have company to his back bumper. Casey Kane closing in the 83 as they work to the back straightaway. Kane gonna dive to the inside of the 21 for second. Here comes the Washington racer as the caution lights come on.
Caution flag waving on the racetrack. The 101 stopped on the back straightaway, Cale Thomas. That will bring out the caution.
You see him get up just over that cushion a little bit, and several times we've seen Kane get a run on Brown. Brown hits it just right and just bolts to the back straightaway.
So everybody will be nose to tail here on the restart as they work into turns 3 and 4. Kyle Larson, Brian Brown, Casey Kane, Darren Pittman, and Carson Macedo, the top 5. The cone out here on the front straightaway. That's where we'll go as they come off of turn 4. Kyle Larson brings him down. Brian Brown's right there. Green is out.
Brian Brown going to die at the bottom of the restart, looking for the race lead. Larson going to keep him at bay as they work to the backside of the racetrack. It'll be Larson pulling away as they work into turns 3 and 4. Brown chasing in second. Battle on the racetrack for the 4 spot. To the inside goes Macedo. He's got it through turns 3 and 4.
Darren Pittman trying to come back on Carson Macedo as they work into turn number 2. And then now riding back there in the 5th spot. Anthony Macri begins to close in on Pittman as they race toward turn number 3, but Kyle Larson pulling away from Brian Brown. Brown still running second, and Casey Kane third.
Boy, clean racetrack. Kyle Larson looks like he's just out on a cruise right now. 1.104 seconds, his advantage over Brian Brown. Casey Kane still in that 3rd spot. Carson Macedo in 4th. Darren Pittman in 5th. Anthony Macri in 6th. Giovanni Scelzi in 7th. John Carr in the 2nd and 8th. Brock Searfoss and Shane Stewart right now your top 10 as Macri with the run to the inside of the 39. He'll get to the top 5 at 39.
Anthony Macri not done yet. He begins to try to drive up and set his sights on Carson Macedo. Darren Pittman stays right with it though as they work down into turn number 1. They go nose to tail. Macri on the bottom. Darren Pittman up on the high side of the racetrack. All the while, Kyle Larson extending his lead as they work off of turn 4.
Kyle Larson committed to the cushion at both ends of the Southern Iowa Speedway. See several drivers still working the bottom side. First driver to break rank in this running order will be the 3Z of Brock Searfoss into turns 1 and 2. Currently running 8th on the Speedway. Everybody else committed to the top as Larson comes around to complete lap number 24.
Kyle Larson untouchable as the yellow flag comes out. Caution waving on the racetrack for Riley Goodnow. Riley Goodnow brings out the caution. 24 laps in the books.
A 6-lap dash to the finish, Tony.
Kyle Larson bringing him. Brian Brown looking to the outside. Here they come to the cone. They're nose to tail for the lead. Brownie down to the inside. Your race is for the lead. Slide job. Got it. Brian Brown takes the lead, and here comes Kyle Larson back to the inside. Side by side into turn number 3. Nobody's letting up. Larson has it. Brown turns the car back to the inside.
Kyle Larson with Brian Brown stalking to the outside. Now Larson going to slide himself. Brown on the cushion trying to build momentum. He'll turn it to the inside of the back straightaway. Side by side into turns 3 and 4. Larson on the outside with the advantage. Larson will hold off the charge of the 21. He's going to come around to lead lap number 26.
Kyle Larson holding on to it now. Brown back by 5 car lengths. Carson Macedo into the 3rd spot. Anthony Macri 4th. Casey Kane is 5th. Now on the back straightaway now. Kyle Larson beginning to stretch his legs a little bit. Here comes Macedo. Macedo running 3rd. He'll begin to reel in Brian Brown as they come by the flag stand.
Fuel burning off in these race cars, and they have to wonder if Carson Macedo and Anthony Macri's cars not starting to get a little better here. Macri hits the bottom perfectly that time through turns 1 and 2, closing in quickly to try to get a spot on the podium here. He'll work down to the inside of the 41. Can the Pennsylvania driver pull it off as we have 2 to go? Kyle Larson in command.
Kyle Larson continuing to show the way, but Anthony Macri trying to make something happen, trying to get into the third spot. He'll look to the inside. Carson Macedo, he'll hold on to it. Macri slipping back. White flags out, 1 to go for Kyle Larson.
Through turns 1 and 2, Larson on the cushion to the back straightaway. He will find turns 3 and 4 one final time. The 26th running of the Sage Group Front Row Challenge at $21,000 goes to Kyle Larson in 57. Brian Brown in second, Carson Macedo in third, Anthony Macri in fourth, Casey Kane in fifth, Darren Pittman in sixth, Shane Stewart in seventh, Giovanni Scelzi in eighth, Brock Zierfoss and Shane Golovic unofficially rounding out your top 10. What a race here tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Picking up $21,000 and his second championship in the Front Row Challenge. The driver out of Elk Grove, California, he wheels the HendrickCars.com, Finley Farms, JVI Group, Fulkins Brothers Trucking, MAV TV, Tarleton & Sons, Glenn Stiers, racing number 57, race fans, Young Money, Kyle Larson, your Front Row Challenge winner.
He's climbing up top with the belt. Let's make some noise for your champion, Kyle Larson.
We're going to catch up with Kyle Larson, multi-time winner. He's won here in the wing and the non-wing. Young Money, Kyle Larson, you had some serious work to do. You wasted no time at getting down to business there, but first thing, can you put into words for us the intensity, those last few laps there you're battling with Brian Brown?
Yeah, my car was stumbling pretty bad on the restarts there, and he showed a nose the first restart, and I figured as bad as I stumbled again, and with my pace up, he was going to have a better run, and was able to slide me, and I was kind of winning to wreck it into 3, and wasn't much room there, but thankfully just enough to get by him, and then I just kind of ran a little bit sloppy the next time through 1 and 2, and he got to my inside, and I had to chop him big time to get that win. I knew if he cleared me there, it was over. So, but can't say enough about everybody. We were thrashing back there. Obviously, you guys saw my engine die there in the pole shuffle thing, and we had to thrash to change engines. So thanks everybody back in the pit who pitched in to help out. I really want to dedicate this win to the Finley family. They've had a tough week and a half. So we're thinking about you, Scott, and the rest of your family, and hope to see you soon. But cool to get a win and dedicate to you guys.
This guy is on absolute fire. Kyle Larson, how about the comeback story? We're going to catch up with our second place finisher. Man, what a run for you, my friend, Brian Brown. Can you take me through that one, starting with the first half of that race?
Yeah, I mean, believe it, that one there is on the driver. We had a car that's capable of winning the race, and I just got jacking around too much with traffic there, and just I knew somebody was coming, and just you don't let the GOAT get too many chances, or he'll figure it out. So just hats off to them. I mean, obviously, they're the best race car driver in the world. You know, we lost to, but hats off to my guys, Danny, Nate, Ty, my dad, Grandpa, everybody on the Casey's FVP car do a great job, and just came up one spot short. That was pretty fun there racing with him late. If that wasn't my Knoxville Nationals car, I probably would have pushed the issue into 3, but I didn't want to bring out a new one for tomorrow, make my guys work real hard. But we'll take second. A lot of momentum with this team heading into this week.
Fantastic display there coming from the number 21, Brian Brown, your second place finisher. Let's talk to the number 41, Carson Macedo. Carson, you were breathing down the neck of the 83 there. You were able to capitalize there in the last few circuits. What went on there?
Yeah, I just really needed a restart. I feel like once the pace got up, you know, everyone just started ripping around the top, and then you couldn't really make a lot of moves. So those last restarts there, I was hoping that one would come out, and each time one did, I was able to get a car there. So happy for my guys. I feel like it finally got to the point where it was wide enough to where we could start kind of racing around a little bit, but for the most part, it was pretty narrow. But all in all, you know, Kyle still managed to come from a fifth to the lead. So obviously you could pass, and he did a really good job. Congrats to him, Paul Silva, and that whole team. And just thankful that my guys gave me another shot to run tonight. Philip Dietz, Clyde Knipp, Nate Rebitz are working really hard. It's a long week, so to add an extra night in there is definitely a lot of work. So hats off to them. Complete Parts and Equipment, Tarleton and Son, Bandy Associates, the Sage family, Dissolve Alloy, Jonestown KOA, Mesilla Valley Transportation, Tarleton and Son. It's a long list of really good people. The Durst family, FK Shocks, Kistler Engines, Maxim Chassis. A lot of people to thank, and a lot of people we're thankful for.
A job well done. This is the number 41, Carson Macedo. Let's get loud once again for your top three here at the 26th Annual Sage Fruit Front Row Challenge.